Vice President Kamala Harris is taking on the lead as Joe Biden's border boss, essentially, just days after laughing in the face of a reporter who pressed her on when she's going to go look.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today.
Well, but that's now her boss. So with Joe Biden passing the buck, what can we expect to happen at the border? Let's talk to retired acting ICE director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, we know she was the attorney general from the sanctuary state of California, but what else do we know about how she regards our southern border?
Well, when President Biden says she's most qualified, I mean, seriously? I mean, what color's the sky in his world? Because you couldn't get a worse pick. Look, she supports sanctuary cities. She wrote legislation to reward those who illegally enter the United States. She vilified the men and women of the Border Patrol during last year, saying they're mistreating immigrants. She's an open borders advocate. She wants to abolish ICE. She compared immigration officers to the KKK during a Senate hearing. And you want to put her in charge of immigration enforcement on the border? I couldn't think of a worse choice.
Well, and because in 2019, she supported decriminalizing crossing the border illegally. It's a federal violation of statute, and yet she was saying, you know what, it shouldn't probably be against the law.
Look, the most qualified person to fix this issue, how about the chief of the United States Border Patrol, who's a great guy? He spent his whole career on the border. He could fix this. If you give him the power to change the policies that need to be changed and let him do his job, that's the guy. You know, he's not some politician. Yeah. But, you know, one of the first things they say Kamala's going to do is travel to Mexico, travel to Central America, talk to them folks. Why don't you sit down and talk to the commander of the Border Patrol? Yeah. Ask them their opinion. They've been through this before. They know how to fix this the same way President Trump fixed it. If all they got to do is one thing. If Joe Biden said today, I'm going to reestablish the Remain in Mexico program, effective immediately, border crossings will go down 75% in the 24-hour period.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, when you look at President Trump, it was about a year ago, he put Mike Pence in charge of the coronavirus response. Essentially, Joe Biden is admitting, okay, this is a crisis, so I'm going to put my number two in charge of this. But there is political peril for her because if it does not work out well, this could actually damage her presidential ambitions.
It is not going to work out well, I'll tell you that right now. And Joe Biden should, you know, look, he's already said he wants to have agreements with these countries. There were agreements with these countries. There were agreements with Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, and they destroyed them all in 2 weeks. If they would have stuck to the Trump playbook, Joe Biden could have the most secure border in the country if he would have just built upon the success of President Trump. But they tore everything down Trump. And this is what they got today. Again, not by accident, not by incompetence, but by design. This is what open borders look like, and Joe Biden, to win an election, sold out to progressive left to get an open border. He knew exactly what he was doing and made these promises.
Before you go, I wanted to ask about, yesterday, the White House took a pool reporter on a tour of a facility, I think in Carrizo Springs, which is it's one of the child facilities, one of the child detention facilities, and it's run by the DHS. It's not run by the Border Patrol, which has been described as more jail-like, which has been referred to as kids in cages. And Ted Cruz said, you know, real transparency would have been, rather than to take people there, take them to the Donna facility because it's at 1,556% capacity, where the kids go to sleep hungry, they sleep on the floor, they haven't seen sunlight in 7 days, and it's full of COVID. Why did the White House, and that's the place I'm talking about right there in Donna, Texas, those are the leaked photos from Congressman Cuellar. Why didn't the White House take reporters to that place rather than, you know, the place that they essentially are putting on their brochures because it's run perfectly?
Because they're not transparent. They're hiding the truth from American people. For the same reason they won't admit there's a crisis. I mean, thank God for, you know, Congressman Henry Cuellar, who grew up on that border, leaking them photos, because he told the truth. The secretary 2 days later said, "Oh, we're going to show some film and some pictures, but we're not ready yet. We're concentrating on operations." Henry Cuellar leaked some photos, and within 24 hours, they came out with their pictures, all, you know, of course, showing the facility all doctored up and well taken care of. They're hiding the truth from the American people, and by the mere fact they won't admit there's a crisis with 5,000 crossings a day show you that they have no problem at all hiding the truth from the American people on what's really going on down there.
There are 16,000 kids in federal custody this morning. All right. Tom, thank you very much for joining us live.